I'm Joey. I'm a cocaine addict. I'm also a father, a brother, a son, a sponsor, a sponsee. I'm a college graduate now. I'm a professional. But most importantly, and the only reason why I'm here or any of those things are true is because I'm an addict. That is the most important thing about my life. Do y'all know what the difference between an addict and an alcoholic is? An alcoholic has a car and no license, and an addict has a license and no car. And I'm both. For years. But, now I'm in recovery, so that's the past. We don't regret the past, nor do we wish to shut the door on it. I grew up in Springfield, Tennessee. It's about 30 miles north of Nashville. Have two older sisters, a younger sister. My childhood was a little chaotic. When I was 4 or 5, my dad has what I have, and it was a bad experience every night going home. He went to a treatment center, blew the family apart. I moved to Alabama for a little bit, came back here, and lived with just my mom. But I always remember, I don't harp too bad on what the trauma looked like or the abuse or anything like that. Not that it's not important, but I'm responsible for what I do regardless after a certain time. But it was rough. And I'm also, I don't know for sure, if y'all remember two things out of this story about me. One is if I put something in my body, I don't know when I'm going to stop. I got to be removed from y'all. I either got to go to jail or treatment or something every single time. I can't do it. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, all I want to do is control it. I really wish I could do it. That's all I've ever wanted, is change the way I feel and not have repercussions. That isn't the case. A few other things about me. I got real big feelings, very sensitive. But also, I think I'm the most important person. I'm an egomaniac with self-esteem issues, and I think I've been that way since I was 3. I haven't changed consciousness. I don't think much of myself, but I'm all I ever think about. So I don't know if the trauma did that or if I'm just who I am. But it's a paradoxical thing, because I want all of y'all to look at me, but don't talk to me. But don't look at me, I want you to laugh, but don't laugh at me, I can't find the middle. So my childhood, the first time I remember trying to smoke weed or do anything was my older cousin found my Uncle Joe's weed, and I did not know how to inhale, but I knew that trying to do it just made me feel something. I didn't get high, but another part that's probably equal with me being an addict / alcoholic is I'm a habitual line stepper. Always been. That was probably my first drug. If I could get a rise out of you, my mom, the teacher, anyone, or if I could make you laugh, angry, I don't know, whatever the flavor was that day, seemed like I always found myself just pushing buttons. If you told me no, I'm going to do it. I remember stealing alcohol from my dad. He'd get drunk, leave bottles everywhere, and I'd take a sip and just, I'm never drinking that. Wrong. On the way up here, we were listening to Only God Knows Why by Kid Rock, and I was like, I remember being 7 years old thinking, damn, the song's good, I was manifesting. I felt like a 47-year-old divorcee when I was young. So maybe I'm the problem. I don't know. Yeah, I was going through it, but I really wasn't. But I wanted to be. I've gotten in trouble a lot, always gotten fights in school, always said the ad-libs in music class when they tell me not to. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. like a lightning bolt, And he'd tell me to stop, and I'd keep doing it, and then I'd get a paddling, and it didn't matter to me. I was one of them kids you couldn't paddle or beat or whip into submission. I'd cry and fight it a little bit, but it did not stop me. Just made it where I was probably numb. When I was 12, maybe, that was the first time that my bad streak caught up to me. My son's got a bunch of Pokemon cards now. I remember going to the YMCA after school, and me and my cousin Jonathan would walk to the Walmart, and we'd buy something real cheap and get the bag, and then just about 5 cycles and just steal as many Pokemon cards and Yu-Gi-Oh cards as we could. Not sell them. I mean, we just wanted to get them. And somewhere around 7th or 8th grade, a kid on the bus, he was a lot younger than me, had some good Yu-Gi-Oh cards. He was flexing. So after school, I was like, we need to go check them out. And they're not home. And we go in the house, and my older buddy who went with me, he'd already scoped the house out, because when we go in there, he goes straight to the master bedroom and starts pulling out dirty magazines out of the top of the closet. I was like, dang, he's ahead of the game. He woke up early. But we start looking through it. I got the Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and then we hear a door shut. And we open up the back door, and I'm looking at the back porch, and you cannot see wood. It is all toys, and, we're like, oh, God, we start jumping over them. Within minutes, the sheriffs show up, and we're hiding in the woods. And the sheriffs show up with the dogs, and we're like, all right, we come out. I got 50 hours of community service picking up trash in the projects in Springfield. And that's, normal people don't do that. Whenever I was managing a halfway house and someone would convince me that they don't need to go to meetings or they don't want to, get a sponsor, whatever, I'm like, normal people don't go to halfway houses and have to fight over milk and who snores in the 4-man room. And I do, it's not normal. Well, with the trouble with the burglary charge at 12, 13, over Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I was a real badass. I remember picking up trash, and this is how my brain operates, with the habitual line stepping. On break, we would go up to the basketball court, and these are all older, prison reformed men who have to do work for the housing authority, and we'd play basketball. And I remember And One Mixtapes was big around here, Hot Sauce, and I was the point guard. I was up at the top of the key. I was like, y'all watch this. I dribble the ball, throw it up in the air. He goes to get it, and I shank him. This is a grown man. He's probably 6'4". To me, he was 6'9". It was insane, Why? I don't know why I did it, but he started just tearing into me. And I remember everybody laughing, and that's just a big memory in my life of, what am I thinking? Why do I do this stuff? I could just go about my day, leave well enough alone, but I've never been that way. Not long after that, I start high school and find weed. And since I can remember, I've had this hurt or this dis-ease inside of me, and I try to dislodge it. I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg, the trauma or the use, I don't know. But I wanted to change the way I felt. And first time I smoked weed really good, it changed the way I felt tremendously. It was the medication I was looking for. It was, soon after I sell everything, trading it for weed. I had a big old knot of $2 bills. My mom was a manager at a gas station. Sometime in my after my dad's bad falling out when I was 5 or 6, my mom went on disability. She didn't work much anymore after that, and I lived with her. It was a lot of chaos in the home, but she loved the hell out of me. I was my mom's golden boy. She loved alcoholics still. I had a stepdad named Claudio. He didn't speak English, and we used to fight in my front yard. That might be some of the trouble, but either way, I do stupid stuff without any outside ignition. I just do it. But those were rough times. I was always able to be popular in school, or at least friends with everybody. I could make you laugh. I could do good in school. I had this good way of putting on a mask. Wherever I go, I could fit in with whoever, however, everything goes smooth. Then I could go home and just cry my eyes out. I got real big feelings. I'm real sensitive, and I got a big heart. I don't want you to know that. I'm a badass, but I'm really a little boy that's hurt. Still hurting sometimes. But I thought that was embarrassing then. So I could change the mask on and off. I'd go to school, laugh, do good, go home, fight Claudio, play some Xbox, smoke some weed, go about my day. It didn't take long in high school for me to start drinking. The first time I drank, I thought I had alcohol poisoning, just as much as I could, and threw up all night in my buddy's floor, the carpet. I remember laying on the floor just thinking, there's two stages. One, I think I'm going to die, and two, I want to die. I just want to get this over with. He set the towel down. He trying to clean it up, and he threw up on it too. It was terrible. It was like a horror movie. And I just wanted to drink again the next night. That's all I thought about. That's what I was excited about. It felt even better than weed. It was way stronger. And it didn't sit right with me, but that don't matter. I'm tough. Soon after that, 15, 16 years old, the pills. Oxycontin, Xanax bars, Percocets, and Lortabs. Lil Wayne, I feel like dying, fuck yeah, let's get messed up. Terrible idea. It was like, yeah, that's okay. The pills get stronger. The possession charges and everything before 18 start happening. I don't know for sure the first AA meeting I went to, but I remember going in the basement and them smoking. You could smoke in the state then. And I didn't listen to a word. I thought, what? This isn't congruent. But they tried a little bit. But I believe every time I've been arrested or in trouble, I told them I wasn't an addict. I don't have a problem. I've always said that. I didn't think I did. I wasn't lying to you. There was a giant pink elephant in the room, and I could not see it. I am delusional. Everybody on this earth could tell me, hey, you do got a problem because it's the only common variable in all these arrests. Nah, impossible. But no, it's true. During high school, I think I started finding X pills my senior year, and it just escalated too quickly. I was hanging out with older kids. All the people I grew up with thought, oh my God, this is too bad, too quick. Don't be around him. Also, Xanaxes, that was a big part, and they just make me fight and steal. I'd try to stick your TV in my pocket, and just right when I take it, I'm stealing something. I could have money and it don't matter, and I'm probably fighting. And that the consequences didn't matter, I didn't have a problem. I just got to fix this little dis-ease inside of me. When I was 18, I had to move out of the house. My mom had sold it to my great aunt, and that was a big change for me. A big part of my story, too, is like my mom was with my dad, I can find real caring people that love me, and my family loves me, and my friends love me, and my girlfriend loves me. And because when I'm good, I'm good. I got a good heart. There's good in here, always has been. I want to do right by people. I want to be successful, this and that. I just had a problem that I didn't think I had. So right after high school, I get my first serious girlfriend. And as Tony P. likes to say, I took my first hostage. And that's just because I could be manipulative. I could be mean, egotistical, even virtuous, kind, modest, and self-sacrificing, whatever the case may be. I'm just the actor, I want to be the director and run the whole show. And that relationship was rough on her mainly because I still did what I wanted. Graduated to Opanas, and then that got real bad. I've always been a good worker. My dad, with his afflictions, always took me to work with him, told me to get a trade, and I'd never have to worry about work in my life, and I did that at 18. I got a trade so I could afford drugs. I wasn't worried about the rest of my life, but it helped me to afford the Opanas and, just work 80 hours a week and ruin my elbow. I got tennis elbow so bad right now, I can hardly shake y'all's hand. But that fueled my reasoning for doing stronger opiates, whatever that was. I guess about the trouble continued. I had my first adult felony at about 18, right at the high school, and then 21 they got a little bit more severe, and then 23 the girl finally had enough. I'd stole her iPad, the TV, got arrested one more time, and I just swore that she was out to get me, didn't love me, The whole time I'm a tornado. Go to jail, probation after probation, and every time I'd go to jail, this is the first time when I'd go for a long extent, I would think, I ain't doing nothing in the jail. When I get out, I'm going to get me a job, work on getting my car back. I took it to a title place, to get Opanas. They got it first time I went to jail. I didn't have a car for 5 or 6 years after that. And I just swore, and I knew that I didn't want to do drugs. And then when I would get out of jail, I'd go back to doing drugs because I think I still wasn't convinced that I had a problem. And really, if I even knew that I had a problem, I did not have a solution for it. So it's either hurt like hell or change the way I feel. And that continued for years, even through community corrections. And that's an intense probation, and I messed around on it the whole time. Probably when I was 25 is the first time that I went to any kind of sober living or treatment. I went to Safe Harbor in Nashville, Tennessee, and it was on 40th Avenue in an old hotel renovated. This is before gentrification. This is probably in 2017. It was rough. And I went there with a bag of clothes, fresh out of jail, told my community corrections officer, and I did good for a month or two. I always do. That fierce determination to win, as Bill says, always comes back. And I bounce back for a second, And then I start doing meth or heroin, whatever's available, because the beach ball, that disease that I try to hold under the water, I can't keep it and it pops up, and then I handle it. So I get kicked out of that place in about 3 months, and I met somebody there, and they were living at Charlie Bob's Trailer Park on Dickerson Pike. What's it called when you take a house and just won't leave? I was a squatter in a trailer park on Dickerson Pike with a bunch of other meth heads. And we were in there one night, and we would have to put the clothes over the vent and scoot clothes in front of the door because you could just hear rats in the walls all night long. I remember coming out of it one night, opening the door and seeing one run across the parking lot that looked like the size of my work boot. It was not a raccoon. I know raccoons. It was a rat. And go back in there, cover up the vents and the doors, start smoking. And I remember one night we were 3 or 4 of us sitting in there on that mattress, filthy, nasty. And I'm looking around thinking, this ain't it. This ain't what life's supposed to be, I got a good head on my shoulders. I'm not the smartest, but I care, and I'll work hard. And might not have had the best childhood, but people loved me. I can't take it no more. So I end up going to another sober living, and it was a faith-based program, and that was in Laverne, Tennessee. They were the only place that would take me. I never had money, never had support, and that was, my family don't have money, but I also burn the hell out of bridges, dry up the river between, it's terrible. So that's a big part of it. I don't want it to sound like nobody loved me. I was loved, but I also am a hellion. But I go, they would take me with no money. And I remember going there with my bag of clothes, what was left of them after the little Charlie Bob's stretch. And that was the first time I had any kind of recovery outside of jail, or any sobriety outside of jail for more than 3 months. I was there about 9 months. And that was actually some recovery too. We went to church every week. We had Bible study every day. And some version of a power greater than myself I did find. I wasn't very religious, still not very religious, but I'd be lying to say, something didn't help me there, because that beach ball was finally away. But I do what I always do. I put something in my body, because all I want to do is control it, so then I'm back out. And ripping and tearing, and I start talking to this girl back where I'm from on Facebook, little DM, and there I go again. I'm in shambles, but I can talk and have good hope and fierce determination to win and be hopeful and all those things in spurts. But a big part of my story is, if I ever get my car back, that's when I'll stop. If I get this job, that'll do it. If I get the girl, if I have a son and I get to be the father I didn't have, that'll fix me. None of that ever fixed me. She got pregnant, and my son was going to be born. That was the first time I went to treatment, about 5 months before he was born. I finally had insurance, finally had a vehicle, no license. I leveled up. I went from the addict to the alcoholic stage, instead of being both at the same time. I went to treatment the first time, heard the speakers, wanted to get a sponsor, go back to meetings. As soon as I came back, a relapse. Went back to treatment right before he was born again, came back, made it a good 2 or 3 weeks, relapse. Started working at this company in the middle of summer after my son was born. And I remember I was probably 135 pounds, just skin and bones. I'm about 185, 190 now. Holes in my arms, and it was the middle of the summer. And I had to wear long sleeve shirts every day. I'd lost the insurance I had from the job that I kept for a little while. But after 90 days, they brought me my insurance papers. And I remember with my long sleeve shirts on, I signed the paper and handed it back and was like, I got to go to treatment. And I didn't know it didn't have to work that way. They would have let me go to treatment because I was a good worker and they cared about me, Everything's transactional to me. So I have to wiggle my way in it or out of it, or it ain't going to work in my favor. But I go to treatment. And this time, I was a little more desperate. Whatever y'all want me to do, I'll do it, And it was awesome. It was the first time that I actually went to the meetings afterwards, got a sponsor, started working the steps, and it went so swell. This was in November of 2019, or October of 2019. I was the first patient through Recovery Unplugged in Nashville. When I walked in there, I was on the worst losing streak of my life. I threw up the entire way there. Every time I'd do dope, it wouldn't make me feel better. It would make me sick, throwing up wise, but it would make the feeling of the sickness go away at least. That's all I needed. I walk in there, and they're standing in a semicircle, and they're all, hey, excited to see me. And the anxiety and crippling, depression was just on me, and I was like, oh, God, I don't want to do this. But I was willing, and went to sober living after I left treatment that time, made my bed every morning, did my chore, went back to my job that I thought I had to bamboozle to get insurance to go to treatment through. I didn't. They let me come back to work. Finally got my license, and that was during 2020. I started managing the house, and it was the greatest year of my life. 2020 was the worst year of some people's lives. It was the greatest year of my life. Anytime I've had any bit of recovery, I'd tell you I got my life back, but I never had a life before recovery. I couldn't tell you I got it back like I got a life, and that was pretty good for me. But it went so swell that I sat on a 4-step for about 8 months after being patient number 1 at RU. It was a rough, the holidays, it's kind of like the emotional sobriety thing. It's like the body keeps the score. And if I'm not spiritually sound and emotionally trying to grow and spiritually trying to grow, then the holidays still whoop my butt. I got a lot of bad memories of them, and I can't just replace them without having good memories of them. And that, along with mainly sitting on a 4-step, because my willingness is not there. That's the thing to me. If I do a 4-step, I'm willing. If I don't, I'm not. It's that simple. I don't know where the magic is precisely. God won't tell me. But I do know if I'm unwilling, I'm not going to make it. And if I'm unwilling, I won't do a 4-step. There's a correlation to me. But after the greatest year of my life, and after those holidays, it went so swell of sitting on a 4-step because it was so swell. I was patient number 2 at RU. Really patient number 1 and 0 because I was the first patient and went back through. I always joke to them about that because they're like, he's patient number 1. I'm like, nah, I'm number 2. Probably 102, whatever 11 months is, 12 months. But this time, I remember being at the halfway house, and it was January 3rd, cold as hell. I was sitting outside smoking a cigarette without my shirt on, and the owner and the manager over the house managers pull up, and I was like, oh, shit, I just start crying, bawling like a banshee, screaming, hurting. And I'd had a relationship with my son. I'd got my license back. Job's going good. I'd signed up for college, saved a little money, got some tattoos, and here I was beating on the desk wondering how it happened. And that sucks, My whole life, I get the fierce determination to win, and I get my hopes up, and I'm looking towards the sky, and then next thing you know, I change the way I feel, and it just, boom, brings me right back to the bottom. And that's when the delusion is completely smashed that I don't have a problem. That's when the pink elephant left the room. They brought me inside and said, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I want to go to treatment. Right now, in the morning, whenever. I know my willingness will, if it was at 80%, it'll be higher. Before that, it's just been a gradual uptick in my willingness of every relapse, of every time in treatment, and this time it was more serious. So I go to treatment. This is how delusional I get. As I was leaving the halfway house, I was telling one of my housemates that I had done the intake for, go to your meetings. Don't be slacking on your meetings. High, 3 sheets to the wind. Thinking about that now, I'm like, yeah, nice of you to say. But because I'd go to meetings, but I'd be high in them. I go back to treatment, to the place where I'd been bringing H&I meetings for a long time, the place where I knew all the workers, but it was a spiritual place. It's always a spiritual place when I put down my gloves and raise up my flag. When the door's unlocked and I can come and go either way and I decide to stay, that's a spiritual place. And there's a lot of other people in a place like that for me that are just as spiritual. I like a place where faith and hope is about all I got. Then I can only look up. And I believe that's a big part of my journey, is being at the bottom, looking around, being grateful for what I got. So I had signed up for college after 12 years, right before that relapse. I think I got high, got inspirational, and I was like, I'm going to go to college. Did the AccuPlacement test, did the ASVAT or the FAFSA, the federal aid, all that stuff. Relapsed, went to treatment, and I was like, dang, this ain't no good. And one of the main things that keep me sober, that it's the 12 steps, it's the big book, it's this, But if I could hone in on one specific thing, it'd be the grace of God. It's grace. Because at my absolute worst, at the very bottom of everything, on the other side of it, there's grace. And then even today, whenever I'm overwhelmed, or I think I'm not enough, or, money's getting tight, whatever it looks like, there's grace. And that's what it looked like when I went to treatment that time. That was the place I needed to go. The case manager signed me up for college. She was like, COVID just happened, so you can only take 6 hours. I was going to take 15 and completely flunk out. So I needed to go to treatment to learn that, and it worked perfectly. The guy who owned the houses I got kicked out of brought me my first laptop. I didn't have no money and no family to bring me one, but he did. And there's that grace. Somewhere along my journey, there's always been somebody who loved me or could help me enough, seen something in me, My childhood friend brought me to treatment that time. My childhood friend's dad picked me up to take me to my truck and get my clothes. His sister bought my groceries, and my old house manager owner bought my computer for me. It's like, man, there's always somebody reaching in the gates of hell that had been there to help the other ones through the flames. And that's a big part of my story. I'm blessed. But I get out of treatment that time, and I go back to the house I was managing. I'd done all their intakes. Get on the top bunk in the 3-man room. I make my bed every day. I do my chore every day. I check in. Whatever they need, I do it. It was easy for me that time. That humble pie, I just knew something about willingness, and that was all it took. Within 3 or 4 months, I got to start managing again. And that brings me, I'm getting into what it's like today. What happened, or what it was like, what happened, and what it's like today. I thought if I stayed sober for just a little bit of time, just a year maybe, or 5 years or 10 years, I have all these grandiose ideas and dreams. I'd maybe be a millionaire, maybe be, in Hollywood acting somewhere, driving a Ferrari, whatever, that's the stupid shit I used to dream about. And looking at my life and what recovery really is, I sold myself short. That don't cut it, because I would still be left without a psychic change and without spiritual growth. And that has been the greatest thing of recovery. I ended up going back to college at Nashville State, and I graduated after treatment that time. Now I teach at Tennessee College of Applied Technology. I am a superintendent for a very large electrical company. I do a lot of side work. I have a beautiful girlfriend and a nice house. I make really good money. I have a great relationship with my son. I can give him anything he wants. And, that is not the best thing. All that material stuff I would trade right now, because the peace of mind I get from recovery is what it was all about, I'm a junkie. I stick needles in my arms. I'm a felon. I go to jail. I steal from my grandmother, yet here I am helping people, and people who aren't like us push me to the front of the class. And the only reason why any of that's possible, the only reason why I have anything materialistic, it isn't luck. I didn't show up at the right place at the right moment. It's recovery. Point blank period. Honesty, making my yeses yeses and my noes noes, is the best algorithm for my life to get better. It cuts the drag of the bullshit I try to control and puts me in the direction I need to go. I'm not held back by people I don't need to be around, by jobs I don't want, by commitments I can't make. It's hard telling the truth sometimes, but it sets you free. And then also, a big part of where I'm at today. And this is from working the steps precisely, nothing else. I can't give the credit to anything else. And we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. For by this time sanity will have returned. We will seldom be interested in liquor. If tempted, we recoil from it as from a hot flame. We react sanely and normally, and we will find that this has happened automatically. We will see that our new attitude toward liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. It just comes. That is the miracle of it. We are not fighting it, neither are we avoiding temptation. We feel as though we had been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. We have not been sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. It does not exist for us. We are neither cocky nor are we afraid. That is our experience. That is how we react so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. That is why anything in recovery has worked consistently over time, is the 10th step promises. I do a nightly 10th step. I pray and meditate every morning and night. I sponsor guys. I have a sponsor. I show up for service. I do a lot of things that I make my yeses yeses and my noes noes, and I've done that consistently over time, and it's turned into a wonderful life. But at the base of it is in this room. Most modern men can't find God because they don't look low enough. Once my life got better, I didn't keep looking up. I haven't always looked up. I go back to the flames, back to the bottom, where I'm from, where I am, and I help people. And that's the secret. No matter how far along the road I travel, I'm still the same distance from the ditch. And that last relapse showed me that more than anything. And I don't fight it. It's like, man, it'd be crazy as hell to be given this gift of recovery, this freedom, this neutrality, this life that I didn't know was possible, never existed, and run away from it. You know, get my gift and run away from y'all. That ain't right. I got to protect it. And the only way I protect it is to stick around and help others. I have, like I said, my sponsor and my sponsees. That's what it's like today, you know. They always give me hell for my cliche sayings, but that's what keeps me in the middle of the boat. It keeps it fresh on me because he told me and I tell them and I tell myself and he tells me, and it just works in this big old circle. If I ever want all my enemies in one place, it's not very hard. I can just go in a room by myself and shut the door. I got them cornered. There they all are. Connection. I got to get outside of that. Kicking the dog. A kid was outside, a guy was walking down the street, and the kid kicks a dog. And the guy said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And the kid said, "I'm kicking the dog." And he said, "Why?" The guy said, "Why?" He said, "Well, my dad went to work today, and his boss yelled at him, and he had a bad day. So when he got home, he was mad at my mom, and he yelled at her. And then when I got home, my mom was mad because she got yelled at, so she yelled at me. And I didn't have nobody to take it out on, so I kicked the dog." It's catching strays. That's what my resentments look like. I will go around causing hell and hurting people because, you know, I've been hurt. But I'm not justified in that. It's my responsibility. However I treat anyone or anything is a reflection of me, not them. The chaos as a child, it sucked. It needs to be dealt with. I need to put light on it. And after that, it don't make sense for me to be the same chaos. Don't pull the fire alarm. I remember early on in recovery and still today, when the stuff's getting hard and when I'm getting overwhelmed and getting those feelings of depression and anxiety and fear just overwhelming, you know, my sponsees have it too. I'm like, whatever you do, don't pull the fire alarm. If anything, we're going to regroup, we're going to sleep, we're going to regroup in the morning, then we might do it. You just call me and we'll back up and punt, we'll do it. But today, just for this 24 hours, Don't pull the fire alarm. You ain't got to do it. Don't freak out. And that rolls into stay in the pocket. In football, my football guys, you got some really good linemen in front of you. And as a quarterback, you got to stay in the pocket because the defensive ends will take you out. Well, life is a lot like that when that fire alarm's looking good. I want to freak out. And if I get out of the pocket, then I'm running around. There's no direction. There's no order. It's just chaos. Running around with a bird on my head. About to get hurt. And if I just stay in the pocket, stay in the process, stay in what God has for me, it works out perfectly. I can take the best hits. I can take little tiny hits in the pocket. I'll get clobbered if I start freaking out. If I start, making rash decisions, if I don't pray and meditate, if I don't give a little time, then it gets bad. Time and pressure. That's a big one. We're like geology. You don't get a message without a little mess and a little age. But recovery's not supposed to be easy. And as much as I want to be just gung-ho, rainbows and butterflies, if it was easy, everybody would do it. But I'm empathetic, and it's hard, I'm not going to tell you it's easy because I'm the opponent in the whole recovery process, and I'm not easy. The actual process is easy. Everywhere I go, there I am. I'm the problem. But if I try to do the things I don't want to do, step 10, discipline, over time, then, I turn into a vessel that is a little tougher than when I came in. I thought it would be like being in the Mediterranean Sea in a big cruise ship with the clear blue waters, just coasting. When I was in the North Sea, 40-foot swells, in a damn canoe. That's how I came in. Anything would have took me out. I thought recovery looked like going to the Caribbean, but sometimes recovery is still the North Sea, except I'm a big icebreaker ship now. The vessel has changed. The psychic change has happened. God is my director. I'm the actor. The only way out is through. The prepositions, there's no above, about, below, behind, beneath, beside, besides, between, beyond. It's through. Fear is 1,000 miles tall, 1,000 miles wide, paper thin. It's an illusion. Get a sponsor, work the steps, get a service commitment, take it a day at a time. It's just, that's the path. The last thing I want to say is my sponsor told me this the other day. And after years of being in recovery and being a knucklehead and learning more about myself and helping others, the main thing's helping others. That's helped me more than it's helped anything ever, is seeing myself and others. Y'all are mirrors, and I need to microscope on me. And that's what it feels like sponsoring. But it's not God. I don't need more God working in my life. I need to be working in God's life. It's His show. It's His money. It's His job. It's His steps. It's His group. It's His food that we got to eat today. And it ain't even got to be His. It's the spirit of the universe. I don't care. I don't know what it is. But I have my own. And man, I need it. That's the only thing that I've never really had before recovery. Well, it's not the only thing. I've never had a car, credit score, bank account, nothing. But it's me working in God's life and taking it a day at a time. A day at a time, not pulling the fire alarm, got me through college, got me through raising my son, got me through bringing him to every service commitment I was a part of because I have him every weekend. You can just, for today, the hell out of everything. And you'd be surprised. You almost don't even have to schedule nothing. I think people get irritated with me because I'm like, yeah, I got it. I probably don't, but just for today, I do. So I'm not lying. And then when I show up, it works out, Fear ain't a big part. Fear of the future, fear of the past. And the other thing, expectations. That will still get me. I'll have 5 years, January 4, 2021. And expectations lead to fear, which lead to my lack of connection. I still expect the most out of the world. I still got the biggest feelings. I still think I'm the center of the universe. I still am human, and that's good because without that, I wouldn't need y'all. But I have a solution today, and it's directly because of the steps of AA, the 12 steps, a sponsor, and helping others, honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. That's what it was at the beginning, the middle, the end, and it's what I got to keep. I've seen it time and time again. If I start slipping on any of them, start working the steps backwards, then it leads to me going through this whole circus again over and over and over. Man, I'm grateful for y'all. That's all I got.